Hello and welcome. There are certain burdens we carry, those deep, heavy feelings that just defy articulation, don't you think? They nestle down into the quietest parts of our being, a soft, constant ache that whispers truths no one else is privy to. You find yourself wearing a brave face, a genuine smile perhaps, but underneath it all, there's a slow burn. It's that profound internal struggle that remains invisible to the world, yet is perfectly clear to the heavens. It's the soundless sob that leaves your soul when the house is dark, when the world is finally still, and you feel that raw, hidden trembling in your spirit that only God observes. If you are navigating a period where everything feels overwhelmingly difficult, where your sincere prayers seem to vanish into a void, and the utter silence from above is more deafening than any actual storm, then please know this message is for you right now. The divine design of your struggle, what you're currently experiencing, that constant pressure and internal wrestling, is not a curse cast upon you. It is, in fact, a calling echoing from your future. You are not being unjustly disciplined or punished. You are actively being prepared for the unparalleled destiny waiting for you. That intense heat you feel right now, the one that feels like it's going to melt you down, is absolutely not designed to destroy you. Its sole purpose is to purify the divine, eternal essence residing deep within your soul. The quiet you've mistakenly interpreted as God's absence is actually His presence at work, the silent, strategic movement of His hand, actively shaping your resilience, constructing an unshakable inner foundation, and teaching your heart to perceive things in a depth that mere words could never reach. Every single tear you have shed is not simply a drop of water, it's a seed of transformation. And know this: heaven has meticulously numbered every one. Each apparent delay you've encountered was a careful, divine alignment redirecting your path. Every heartache you've had to bear was far from a random event. It was a purposeful, sacred sculpting of your inner self, a crucial preparation for the sheer magnitude of the spiritual power you are about to step into and carry. You are not, I repeat, not weak for processing life so deeply. You are not behind in any timeline. You are certainly not forgotten. You are actively, dynamically becoming the person your purpose requires. God hasn't abandoned His work. He is precisely in the process of refining you, chiseling away the unnecessary and preparing a masterpiece that the world will soon witness, but which the entire heavens already celebrates. There is a sacred reason you possess a sensitivity that allows you to feel things others dismiss. There's a reason you shoulder emotional and spiritual burdens that most people can't even begin to fathom. It's because your spirit was intentionally crafted for a greater, more divine weight, a weight that carries authority. And within that heaviness, within the quiet strain, something truly sacred and powerful is being fully awakened in you. So, I urge you, stay with me until the very end of this message. Because today the fog will begin to lift, and everything that has been hidden from your understanding will begin to make profound sense. Today you will finally grasp why your specific pain was a sacred tool, why your long waiting period was a holy placement, and how the heavens were never truly silent, but were instead supremely strategic. Before we delve into the heart of this, if this message is already stirring a recognition deep inside you, I want you to pause for a moment and go ahead and type 99 into the comments section below. Why 99? Because 99 is the symbolic number of the single one for whom God leaves the entire crowd. It is a powerful symbol that even when you feel utterly lost or insignificant, He is actively, immediately coming searching for you. Also, if you're with me, please give this video a like, and if you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button. Don't do it out of mere habit, but do it as a declaration that you are stepping into a season where every word you hear will serve as divine instruction for your unfolding destiny. Now, I want you to take a slow, deep cleansing breath. Center yourself and prepare your spirit, because what we're about to uncover will serve as a profound reminder your tears were never wasted. They were, in the most beautiful sense, the very ink God has been using to write out the triumphant pages of your upcoming testimony. 1. The pain of isolation and separation. Chosen one. There comes a critical moment when heaven begins a process of carefully rearranging your life in ways that can initially feel profoundly challenging, almost cruel. People you once relied upon or trusted implicitly start to subtly drift away. Conversations that once flowed easily now feel forced and quickly fade. Doors that used to swing wide open for you now shut with a startling finality. You naturally try to rationalize it all, but deep in your spirit, there's an undeniable whisper. This isn't actually a loss. This is divine editing. God Himself begins to sever ties you would have stubbornly tried to maintain, because He possesses a foresight you simply lack. Some connections, though superficially pleasant or comforting, would have ultimately served to poison your greater purpose. Certain friendships, though deeply familiar and easy, would have unintentionally weakened the strength of your faith. And a few significant relationships, no matter how filled with raw emotion, would have undeniably delayed the unfolding of your destiny. So, He removes them. He does this not to inflict pain or hurt you, but to rigorously protect what is holy and necessary inside you for the next level. At first, this feels like an unbearable betrayal. You cry out, "God, why would you remove what I cherished?" But then, the blinding revelation emerges. Not everything that is good for you is actually God sent. Some things which feel like a comforting presence are merely deep distractions wrapped in the soft blanket of familiarity. As your divine calling begins its ascent, heaven initiates a necessary separation. This happens because oil and dust are incompatible, light and shadow cannot walk the same path forever. What you mourn as a loss was never rejection, it was a powerful redirection. God didn't take these people or things away to leave you empty or desolate. He moved them aside so that his voice could finally become the loudest, clearest sound in your room, establishing a sacred, divine isolation. It is within that sacred solitude that you are destined to uncover a secret most people live their entire lives without knowing. You are profoundly safest when you are completely alone with God. This sacred time of being isolated is not a punishment or a holding pattern. It is the most intense form of preparation. It is the birthplace of absolute clarity. It's where your spiritual eyes are forced to open fully. It is where your true, authentic identity is finally allowed to awaken. This separation is not intended to shrink you down or diminish your influence. It's designed to expand your capacity without any harmful outside interference. God removes connection so he can powerfully reveal himself in your mission. He hides you away so he can completely heal you at the root. While others might look at your life and assume you've fallen behind, the truth is, heaven has merely hit the pause button so that you can be launched with maximum velocity and impact at the absolutely perfect moment. So, please, I beg you, stop chasing what chose to walk away. Stop mourning the exits that heaven so strategically orchestrated. The people who left were never meant to possess the spiritual vision required to comprehend or walk with you into your next greater chapter. Remember this profound truth: diamonds are never formed in crowded spaces. They are shaped and hardened under crushing pressure in absolute darkness and in profound silence. That's precisely why God isolated you, to intensely refine you until you finally radiate with an undeniable light. And here is the ultimate mystery, beloved. The very same hands that carefully escorted certain people out of your life are right now busy arranging divine replacements. You are about to encounter connections that won't drain your energy, but will perfectly align your spirit and purpose. You're on the cusp of understanding with crystalline clarity why God absolutely had to clear the entire room before he placed the crown upon your head. Because what is coming next, the true weight and glory of your destiny, was never, ever intended to be shared with just anyone. Something utterly sacred is about to erupt, and only those whom heaven approves will be allowed to truly witness and celebrate it. 2. The pain of being misunderstood. There exists a profound, heavy loneliness that no language on earth can fully capture. It's the kind that doesn't stem from being physically alone, but from the spiritual burden of being fundamentally unseen and unheard. You try desperately to articulate the fire that burns within you, the vivid visions, the impossible dreams, the deep revelations that often steal your sleep. Yet, you watch their eyes subtly glaze over. They offer a kind, polite smile, but they simply don't feel the weight of your words. They can't, because you are not speaking from a place of mere intellect or surface emotion. You are speaking directly from your spirit, and that spiritual language is one that only heaven can fully comprehend. In those moments, you inevitably begin to internally question yourself. Am I making all of this up? Why do I feel so distinctly different from everyone else? But I need you to hear me clearly. You are not crazy. You are undeniably chosen. You were never, ever meant to be completely understood by people who haven't traversed the difficult roads you've walked, or carried the specific spiritual weight you bear. Your immense depth naturally confuses hearts that are only accustomed to the shallow end. Your relentless faith often stands as an accidental offense to those who have become spiritually comfortable. Your internal light, simply by existing, exposes the areas of darkness that others are still desperately trying to conceal. That is the fundamental reason they quietly pull away. That is why they sometimes whisper and talk about you. That is why they occasionally stare at you as if you are simply too much. But you are not too much. You are, in a profound and biblical sense, set apart. What they label as strange or odd is actually deeply sacred. The intense fire that rages inside you was never designed to fit neatly into a world that is so often content with only the smoke. While many others are perfectly content to live their lives by what is visible, by sight, you are a person who lives by revelation. You possess the ability to perceive what is coming before it physically manifests. You sense spiritual danger long before it makes a noise. You can discern the true state of people's hearts without a single word being spoken. This is not paranoia or a character flaw. This is discernment, ruthlessly sharpened and fine, tuned by the Holy Spirit. God purposefully trained your profound sensitivity to operate on a significantly higher spiritual frequency because your unique purpose requires absolute precision and uncompromising clarity. But that very sensitivity is a double-edged sword. It also makes you feel pain more deeply, perceive silence more loudly, and experience rejection with a crushing heaviness. You feel everything because you were specifically designed to intercede, to stand in the gap for those who sadly feel nothing at all. Being profoundly misunderstood is simply a part of the spiritual price for carrying genuine, authentic spiritual sight. Even Jesus, the Son of God, was doubted and questioned by his own family, his closest friends, and even his core disciples. If they failed to recognize the literal Savior standing right in front of them, please don't be surprised when other people fail to recognize the anointing resting upon your life. The same people who question your sanity and label you today will one day, when heaven undeniably proves your authenticity, come seeking your wisdom and guidance. You do not need to waste your precious energy defending what God has already powerfully defined. Your entire life will eventually serve as the unmistakable answer. So, allow them their misunderstandings. Let them assign their convenient labels. Let them create distance if they feel the need, You were not sent to convince, you were sent to witness. Every single misunderstanding you endure is in reality God's precise way of gently pulling you out of the world's unnecessary noise so that his voice remains your only true compass. And one day soon, when the immense potential he placed inside you finally and spectacularly manifests, they will all gasp and say, "No, I finally understand." But by that time you will already be gracefully walking on the next level, where explanations are rendered completely unnecessary because your glory speaks for itself. Keep walking, my chosen friend, because even when no human being applauds your effort, the entire heaven stands and cheers. Even when no one down here believes in your vision, the angels faithfully echo your name in the majestic courts of purpose. And just when you reach the point of exhaustion and think no one truly sees you, the very one who called you will dispatch a sign so undeniable, so powerful, that every last doubt will immediately bow down to divine confirmation. 3. The pain of the invisible battle. There is an ongoing, hidden war that absolutely no one on earth sees you fighting. Not the tears that never manage to fall. Not the crushing, spiritual weight that presses against your chest at midnight. Not the profound, unseen exhaustion that no amount of human sleep can ever fully fix. You faithfully smile. You consistently show up. You keep putting one foot in front of the other. But internally, your spirit feels like something sacred within you is under a constant brutal attack. You wake up feeling heavy and depleted, not because your body failed to rest, but because your spirit has been fighting in unseen realms that your natural eyes cannot perceive. That is precisely why your mornings can feel overwhelmingly heavy, even after a quiet night. Because while others were simply dreaming, you were defending the territory of your soul. The plain, unvarnished truth is this: the more spiritual light you carry, the more the darkness inevitably notices your presence. The enemy never wastes his precious time and energy on those who are spiritually lukewarm or indifferent. He exclusively targets the burning ones. And you, chosen one, are a literal torch of light placed squarely in the center of a spiritual battlefield. That is why confusion can erupt seemingly out of thin air. That is why anxiety relentlessly tries to whisper its malicious lies. That is why a profound awareness can suddenly wrap itself around your mind like a thick, suffocating fog. But do not for a moment mistake this intense battle for abandonment. It is, in fact, undeniable confirmation. You are not under attack because you are weak. You are under attack because you are dangerous to the entire agenda of hell. Every single whisper of doubt, every sudden surge of fear, every invisible pressure is a profound and urgent reaction to your rising spiritual authority. You may not physically see the arrows being fired, but you absolutely feel their impact. And still you stand. That unyielding perseverance is the single thing that utterly terrifies the enemy more than anything else. You continue to worship fervently when every logical part of you tells you to quit and hide. You keep believing in the unseen when all human logic firmly says you shouldn't. You keep shining your light brightly, even when heavy shadows begin to gather and swirl around you. And what you don't fully realize is that the entire heaven is witnessing this hidden, invisible strength and confidently calling it warrior faith. Every single time you consciously choose peace over paralyzing panic, every time you choose love over paralyzing bitterness, every time you choose prayer over instant knee-jerk reaction, the darkness loses significant ground. Remember this powerful truth: you are not fighting this war alone. The very moment you whisper a desperate prayer, vast legions of angels immediately take position around you. The instant you raise your hands in surrender or worship, the heavens thunder with a mighty response. You have been fully clothed in the impenetrable full armor of God. Truth faithfully guards your waist, righteousness powerfully shields your heart, peace carefully guides your every step, and faith is the mighty weapon that extinguishes every single fiery dart launched at you. You are not simply surviving this battle, you are actively and forcefully advancing the kingdom through the sheer power of your endurance. And please, listen closely to this spiritual indicator. The pressure you feel is not a random occurrence. It is a spiritual indicator that a massive promotion is imminent. When the resistance intensifies to its highest peak, it is a sure sign that the breakthrough you've been waiting for is finally within reach. That is precisely why hell relentlessly attacks your rest, your focus, and your joy. Because something truly massive is about to break open and change your life forever. The very storms that aggressively tried to drown and consume you will very soon become the undeniable proof that you can literally walk on the very thing that once threatened to destroy you. So, when the weight is too much, do not collapse entirely. Kneel, because every single time your knees touch the ground in prayer, the earth trembles, and hell instantly loses another war. There is immense supernatural power in your surrender. There is ultimate victory found in your profound stillness, and while you may not see it clearly yet, heaven is already declaring this eternal truth over your life. The battle is fierce precisely because the crown is near. 4. The pain of waiting for God's timing. There is a unique kind of pain that doesn't scream and demand attention. It quietly, patiently waits. It's the deep ache of seeing the promise in your spirit but not yet being able to physically touch it. It's the tension of knowing without a doubt that God can move instantly, but then watching him deliberately remain silent. It is the challenging space between raw faith and pure frustration, where every single day feels like an intense, soul-testing examination of patience and absolute surrender. You mentally replay the visions, the confirmations, and the precise words you know originated in heaven. Yet, the door remains stubbornly closed. The answer remains missing, and the slow march of time feels like it's mocking your very belief. You find yourself asking, did I truly hear God correctly? Did he change his divine mind about me? But the answer is a resounding no, he did not. You are still perfectly on schedule, just not your schedule. Waiting is never a form of punishment. It is, spiritually speaking, intense surgery. God is not delaying your ultimate destiny. He is precisely aligning your heart with the profound magnitude of that destiny. Because a magnificent blessing that is delivered too soon can quickly become a devastating, unbearable burden. He is not withholding any good thing. He is simply withholding everything less than perfection. The pervasive silence that you so deeply fear is not a sign of abandonment. It is a sign of refinement. Every single pause, every frustrating delay, every not yet, is a precise chisel against your human impatience, carefully shaping you into a vessel that is strong enough to carry what's coming without completely collapsing under its weight. Do you remember the story of Abraham? He waited until his body declared the promise completely impossible. Joseph waited patiently in a miserable prison before he finally wore the glorious robe of royalty. Hannah waited through years of quiet tears and deep ridicule before she was finally allowed to hold her miracle in her arms. Their waiting was never wasted. It was a profound and necessary preparation for the massive impact they would eventually have. Heaven consistently takes its time with those who are called to carry the most spiritual weight. God could, of course, grant a blessing instantly, but when he chooses to build a destiny, he builds it for all eternity. That is precisely why it feels like it takes longer for you. Sometimes the absolute hardest part is not the act of waiting itself. It is the daily act of staying faithful while you are waiting. It's the relentless act of showing up every single day with sincere expectancy, even when nothing visibly changes. But that right there is where heaven measures the true strength of your character. Not by what you instantly receive, but by how you steadfastly remain. Faith is never proven when you get what you want. It is powerfully proven when you keep believing after you don't receive it. And here is a potent revelation: delay is often God's disguise. He purposefully hides massive blessings within time so that only those who trust him enough to patiently wait will be the ones to finally find them. Every single minute that feels wasted or agonizing is actually a period of intensive divine construction. Angels are meticulously arranging details you can't possibly see. They are perfectly aligning hearts you haven't even met yet. They are setting the stage for a timing so divinely perfect that when the promise finally manifests, it will instantly erase the pain of every single day you spent wondering when. So please hold on tightly, chosen one. The longer the wait, the more spectacular the unveiling will be. The intense pressure you feel is heaven intentionally stretching your capacity for a greater glory. And when the promise finally arrives, it won't just bless you with a thing, it will fundamentally transform you as a person. Because God doesn't just want to deliver the miracle, he wants to ensure you have the spiritual and emotional capacity to survive its sheer magnitude. So, never rush the process that God is actively perfecting. Because sometimes, the most profoundly divine action you can take is simply to wait with patience. And if you could, for just one moment, see what is already magnificently forming for you behind the veil of time, you would immediately understand this truth. Your delay is actually the final countdown to divine acceleration. The waiting room is not where your amazing story ends. It is the sacred place where your destiny takes its final, transformative breath before it is spectacularly born fine. The pain of forgiving those who hurt you. There are certain wounds that don't visibly bleed. They echo painfully in the silence. You can feel them as a dull ache in your chest when you unexpectedly hear their name. They surge forward when a memory flashes out of nowhere. They become a heavy weight when silence suddenly becomes deafeningly loud. You had deeply trusted them. You had given them your unconditional belief, thinking they were a safe harbor. And then, one day, without warning, they shattered the one thing you thought was unbreakable: your internal peace. The sheer betrayal didn't just come from their specific actions. It came from the devastating realization that someone you genuinely prayed for was truly capable of hurting you that deeply. And just when you are furiously building your internal walls, frantically trying to protect the fragile pieces of what's left, you hear God quietly whisper a single word that pierces your heart harder than the pain itself: forgive. Every human instinct within you fiercely resists this command. The wounded, human part of you scream, they absolutely don't deserve it. The shattered part of your soul cries out, they will never fully understand the damage they did. But God is not asking you to pretend the hurt didn't happen or that it wasn't catastrophic. He is simply asking you to stop carrying the toxic weight that is slowly killing your own spirit. Forgiveness is never about excusing their inexcusable behavior. It is about forcefully reclaiming your own stolen freedom, because the longer you stubbornly cling to the pain and the desire for vengeance, the more that pain becomes your personal prison. The enemy does not need to overtly destroy you if he can successfully keep you emotionally locked down in the prison of bitterness. That, my friend, is why forgiveness is not an act of mercy for them, it is an act of deliverance for you. There is an incredible, profound power that rushes in the moment you can finally say from your deepest self, I willingly release them. The very instant you make that declaration, heaven rushes in to confirm it. The profound heaviness begins to immediately lift. The spiritual darkness loses its crippling grip, and something deep inside your soul exhales for the first time in possibly years. You begin to feel physically lighter, not because instant justice was served, but because you willingly handed the entire case file to the only perfect judge who never, ever gets it wrong. God sees every tear you cried, every humiliation you endured, every long night you replayed the entire event in your mind. And he promises you this: vengeance is mine, I will repay. You don't have to desperately try to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to fight back in the flesh. You simply have to heal. Forgiving does not equate to forgetting. It means remembering the event without the lingering poison in your spirit. It's the beautiful place where the memory still exists, but the pain no longer holds any ownership over you. It's when you can look back honestly and say, that terrible event broke me, but you can immediately follow up with, but it also undeniably built me into something stronger. And that is the true secret of divine forgiveness. It miraculously transforms your deepest pain into profound wisdom. It turns betrayal into a powerful anointing, and your wounds into wide open doors for glory to manifest. Because every single time you choose to forgive, you dramatically rise higher in the spirit. You deliberately disconnect yourself from the heavy gravity of resentment and bitterness, and God instantly elevates you into the spiritual atmosphere where perfect peace permanently resides. So, allow grace to accomplish what revenge could never hope to achieve. Allow heaven to fully heal the parts of you that pride stubbornly refuses to touch. When you forgive, you immediately open a massive channel for the blessings that were being actively blocked by your bitterness. God cannot fully fill a clenched, angry fist. But when you willingly release the offense, your hands are finally free and open to abundantly receive His goodness. And here is the divine mystery: the very same trauma that caused you so much pain will one day become the powerful testimony that completely heals someone else's life. That is precisely why you cannot quit this difficult process of healing and forgiveness. Your own healing is about far more than just you. Do not allow your story to end in pain when it was always divinely intended to conclude in a mighty display of power. Forgive them, not because they necessarily deserve your peace, but because you absolutely deserve to have your own peace back. And when you finally do forgive, heaven will begin to move so quickly and profoundly in your favor that even your deepest scars will miraculously start to shine. Because forgiveness is never the ending of your story, it is the powerful, glorious moment when God deliberately begins to write a brand new one. Conclusion: the unveiling of your glory. Listen closely to this final truth. Everything you have walked through, every tearful heartbreak, every night you were certain would never end, was never, ever random. It was all a part of a sacred design. Heaven has been meticulously shaping you in the stillness, deliberately preparing you in the pain, and patiently teaching you exactly how to carry significant power with unwavering purity. You were never truly weak, you were chosen. What others in your life called an unbearable loss, God was actively calling profound refinement. What you believed was tragically breaking you was actually strategically building you up. Every delay was an intentional divine training session. Every rejection was a necessary redirection. Every single invisible battle you fought was power confirmation that your destiny was never destined to be ordinary. You are not standing where you are today by any accident. You are standing triumphantly on the ashes of everything that relentlessly tried to destroy you and still failed. Those sacred tears did not fall in vain. They were a necessary, spiritual baptism for your anointing. Those indelible scars you carry are not signs of your defeat. They are powerful, undeniable proof that the fire ultimately obeys you. The enemy tried his best to bury you and silence your song, but God simply whispered over your grave, "Watch her bloom." You are the living, breathing evidence that great pain can be transformed into unstoppable purpose, that profound darkness can spectacularly birth a greater light, and that your human weakness can become the perfect, magnificent stage where God displays His unquestionable glory. So please, do not curse the difficult process you've endured. Bless it, because it was never intended to end you. It was meant, with divine precision, to reveal the true you. You are spiritual gold, unshakable, untouchable, and utterly unstoppable. Not because your life has been easy or without trouble, but specifically because you deliberately walked through the fire and emerged from the flames, radiating light. The intense pressure did not crush you, it crowned you. The painful isolation did not erase your existence, it beautifully introduced you to your true self. And the very same hands that gently broke you to purify your spirit are now lovingly and powerfully lifting you up to glorify you. This, my friend, is your moment of divine unveiling. The pain was not a punishment, it was a potent prophecy. You have been refined, tested, and prepared for such a time as this. Heaven is about to powerfully vindicate every single tear you have ever cried. The story they all thought they buried you in will become the magnificent stage upon which God resurrects you. You are not the person you once were. You carry the unmistakable evidence of the eternal, spiritual fire in your veins, undeniable grace in your scars, and an unyielding destiny in your very breath. So rise up, daughter of God, straighten your crown, lift your head high, because your wilderness season has ended, and your glorious awakening has begun. The very same God who faithfully walked you through the deepest valley is now personally leading you into glorious visibility. Your pain ends here, your purpose begins now. If this message has ignited a fire deep within your spirit, I want you to immediately type this declaration in the comments section. God's grace is all I need. Let heaven witness your fierce declaration. Let hell hear your unbreakable resilience. You were never ever forgotten, you were simply refined for glory. Now go forth and let the entire world finally feel the magnificent power of a person who survived the divine fire and came out absolutely glowing.